Hey, welcome back everybody. Unzo back again. Got the R1 here behind me. Putting the Dynoyjet power commander on it today. I've got most of it installed. You can see right here I got the secondary fuel module, power commander 5. Got it connected. It's pretty much all installed. I started doing it. I thought about making a video for doing the install, but it's been done on this actual 2020 R1 already from Dynoyjet. There's plenty of videos on there if you don't know. It's pretty straightforward. 4 injectors in the bottom. The secondary module goes to the 4 injectors in the top. Connects to your crank sensor, which is back up in here. Connects to the shifter on this bike. And then your TPS or throttle position sensor on the ECU. So it's all installed except putting the air box back in and plugging in these top 4 injectors. And then I'll have to update the firmware and load a map up. And I will talk about that later in the video. Just want to let you know what was going on. Something new for the Blue Falcon, and it's going to give it a little bit extra power. I went with the Dynoyjet because I've used their stuff in the past. I'm familiar with the software. It's going to do what I want to do until we get a flash for this bike. There is no flash available, so it's still a ton of restrictions. But hey, it's going to get it out of it is a little bit lean. Across the board, it's about 14. It likes to hang around 14.1. And it goes as lean as about 15.2, something like that in places. So this is going to fix that. I'm going to try to get it on the dyno. If not, probably just going to do a little bit of street tuning right now. I've downloaded the maps that's on Dynoyjet's website. They are not the greatest. It looks like some auto-tune stuff, but it is hitting the lean spots. And I'm kind of filling the blanks so it can interpolate between the cells to give it a smoother ride, and I'm going to go with that for a moment. But anyway, that's what's going on. Also got some new tires on this bike. It's got just say 5,000 miles on it, and I went with the Continental Sport Attacks. It's an older tire. I guess it's been around for a while, but it's a pretty good tire. It's not the Sport Attack 2, the 3, and I believe there's even a 4 now, but I got a super deal on these. Cycle Gear was having a sale, and I needed tires. As you know, I did a video on the that's actually this tire over here. This is my old tires. This is the original Battle Axe front. You can see that it is done. And this is the old full bore, which still has some life in it. This tire is really stiff on that, you know, in places and soft in others, but it's got a few miles on it now. It's kind of rounded, capped off somewhat, and if you don't have heat in it, it would actually go from spinning and get a little bit of heat, and then it would pop into a wheelie, and a little bit unpredictable, but that was a great tire for the money. I'm hoping these are going to be better, and I'm going to get a lot more traction. I think it's a great looking tire. I'll probably do a little review on those later when I get some time. I literally only rode it 20 miles with these tires on it, so yeah, that's what's up with the R1. Let's get on and let's talk about this Dynoyjet a little bit more. Okay, so PowerFC is installed. PowerFC, the Power Commander 5. You can see I got both modules right there. I can still access the USB just by taking the seat off. I let's remove anything else. The tank is on, everything's connected. So I did upload the map. It came with some kind of map in it. It looked really strange, Dynoyjet, pulling fuel out of the top end and mostly zeros, but I guess it would get it started or whatever. But I put my own map in there and made a couple changes to it that I could tell it already wanted. I still got a little bit of learning curve on here with the secondary fuel module, because it actually tells you there's two settings in there, and if you don't turn it, there's two ways to turn it. As you can tell, I'm not even sure what I'm saying right now. I got to read the paper again. So the map that I had basically is only controlling the lower injectors. You can have a separate map for your secondary injectors, and you can control the amount of fuel that those add. So right now I'm just running it as with the primary map, and it's going to change the whole fuel curve. So I'm going to have to do some tuning and see what it looks like, and then turn the secondary module on and add fuel or take away as needed. So that's where I'm at with it, but it's up and running, and I got to clean this garage up. But I'm going to get back to it, and we'll get more into this, and I'll show you how to do the settings on the computer, and hopefully we get to do some tuning somewhere. Hang tight. Okay, back set up out here. It's been a few days for me. It's been more than a few days to get this set up, but I did want to show this part of how to set up your Power Commander software. Plug it in, just for those of you who don't know. So if you come over here, you got your port. I don't know if you can see that or not. USB port. The cable ends are going to look just like a GoPro. It's the same style. Got the Power Commander software up right here. So let me get these two connected up, and we'll get back on the screen. Okay. So you can see the cable is connected there. It's just kind of hanging in the floor. So you can see it. And just get that in focus right there if I can. It asks you some question about where your maps are. So if you look at the bottom here, I don't know if you can see that, but it says one device connected. I actually have two devices. I have a secondary fuel module. For whatever reason, I don't know, on this bike, I've never had two modules on a Power Commander before. But for whatever reason, it will only see the secondary module once it's running. I don't know why. So if I'm doing something wrong and somebody knows, let me know and I'll fix it. But anyway, just for general purposes, you click on Open Map. I have my maps out here. These are the maps that are available from Dynoyjet for a 2020 R1. one that's closest is this Acropovic full exhaust, stock or aftermarket air filter. I'll pull that up just for now. So when you do that, you see this over here, and then you click on your fuel map. And of course you have your throttle percentage. Let me adjust this. Your throttle percentage here goes from 0 to 100, 2, 5, 10, 15. So different increments right there. And then what these computers do, whether you're tuning with this one or another one, is it will interpolate between, your throttle percentage is 15 to 20, so that's only a 5%, and then it jumps to 40, so that's a 20% jump. So you have to keep that in mind. There might be a way to change that. I believe there is on the RPM if you want to do it too. But you have to keep in mind that, so your RPM's 1,000, 1,250, 1,500, 1,750. So it's doing 250 RPM increments. So whatever value is in one of these cells, and then you jump here, it's going to do some math there to determine what number is going to be between those. So if you look at the guys that have been tuning these, you will see that on a 20, they tend to be real lean from about 6,500. This is a little bit more, but it starts getting real lean about 6,000 to about 9,000, depending on the throttle. But if you look at the 40% throttle column, it is real lean. And then it kind of gets okay in the 50%. So you have a little hole here that's kind of lean, and then it starts to get lean again at the 70%. And interestingly enough, if you notice, the 100% block doesn't change, and that is because this bike only sees 100% throttle for approximately 200-300 RPMs. It never goes wide open throttle. So this is just the primary map. So if we go to my map, which is this one right here, you now see you have a secondary fuel module. And if you look at my fuel map, it is quite a bit different. I have put some values in 100% area because it is seeing 100% throttle in some places, and I wanted to have something to base in this area between 90 and 100 and 80 and 90. So you will see, if you freeze frame that or whatever, some differences. You go to the secondary fuel module, it's going to be all zeros to anything 5,000 and below. I don't actually know how Yamaha is mapping the secondary injectors on this bike. I'm basing it off of every other R1 they've ever built. They don't do anything below 5,000 RPMs. And I believe it's about 50% throttle, 55, 5250, they start coming on somewhere around in there. So taking that into consideration, and also this little corner here, 11,000 and 90 to 100% throttle, the secondary injectors are providing about 85% throttle, or I'm sorry, not throttle, but 85% of the fuel. So if you're looking at your primary map over here, even though you're giving it a plus fuel here, it's only 20% of your fuel is only coming from here. So you can give it another 5% back here, and that's going to be even more fuel, because actually 80% of your fueling is coming from the secondary injectors. That's really only the wide open throttle, high RPM. So most of your fueling does come from the primary injectors when you're just messing around, cruising around, and even for if you're doing a pull on the dyno, until you get in that range. But anyway, that's some of the issues that I'm having with tuning, is learning this area and gonna have to get it on the dyno and the wideband. So that's pretty much it.
So just wanted to say right off the top here that this was not working with the audio with the bike running, so we'll do a little voiceover. What I'm showing you right here is, or what I failed to show you was that you need to go and click on Get Map to get the map that is inside your Power Commander. So if you save the map like I had, you need to pull the one that's on your Power Commander, you hit Get Map, then you make your modifications, and then you send it back to the Power Commander 5, and it will save it inside the box. So what I'm doing here is I'm just showing you that it's displaying the RPMs, throttle percentage. It'll also show you the percentage of fuel, plus or minus that's being added. And you have the yellow box, that is the cell tracing, to show you exactly what cells it is using under your current operating conditions. So now what we need to set up is the speed on the Power Commander. So you go into your Power Commander tools, which is where pretty much everything is located. You're going to set a target speed, and I'm setting it here for 40 miles an hour. I got the bike on the stand. You're going to rev the bike. I'm sorry, you're going to put it in gear, and you're going to take it up to 40 miles an hour. You're going to hold 40 miles an hour, and then there's going to be the button there. You're going to click Calibrate. And then once you get your speed calibrated, and sometimes it'll take a minute depending on how your throttle is, you get the speed calibrated, and then from there we can go into setting up the different gears. So you can see 5400 roughly in first gear. You can see what cells that it's using right there in that free rev range. And that should have it calibrated. Okay, so right here, setting up the gear selection. Gonna do the same thing. I've already completed gear 1. You're going to basically run the bike through all 6 gears, and you're going to take it up to your target speed, which you set at 40 miles an hour. So you'll get this, you go into your Power Commander tools, and you will hit Calibrate for the gears. You get this pop-up, and you put it in gear. You go to your target speed, buttons on the side, and you hit Calibrate, and it will let the Power Commander know, it'll match the gears up. Not really sure exactly the purpose of this, really, because you don't have any sort of gear selected fuel mapping or anything like that with the Power Commander, and I don't really know what they're doing with it. I guess that's sort of my learning curve as well. But it does say in the instructions to do this. And I know you can, if you add a timing module, you get a lot more features, so that might be something I haven't played with. I'm not doing ignition timing with it right now, but I'll go ahead and set it up the way the book says. So yeah, first gear, 40 mile an hour, you hit Calibrate. Second gear, 40 mile an hour, Calibrate. And all the way until you get to 6th gear. Basically doing that for every gear, so that's what's going on here. I'll let you watch and enjoy.
And that's pretty much it for the setup on this bike. Excuse me. So it does show secondary fuel module, duty percentage, the fuel adjustment and all that. Over here in this area, it also shows your fuel adjustment here. Seems to make a difference on decel, the popping, and also when it returns to idle. Seems to be a lot smoother for me, so I'll keep that. A little bit of fuel over here. 4 or 5% seems to do it, not a huge change. But yeah, that's the Power Commander in a nutshell. Just wanted to show you guys that. If anybody was wondering, it connects just like every other Power Commander does. Plenty of videos out there like I mentioned before. So that is it. This is where you make all of your changes. You're just looking at RPM and fuel. So you got a wideband on your bike, and I really wish Dynoyjet, if you're listening, if you could run this on a tablet. And I know there's an app out there that comes and goes off the app store, but I could strap a tablet to my bike, and then I could log these runs or watch the cells while I do a pull. For guys that are going to street tune, it's a lot easier if you could do that, but I don't have that, so you kind of got to use your head a little bit when you're trying to tune this on the street. But on the dyno, yeah, you can set your laptop up right there, and you can pretty much, you could put the wideband input over here, and then you would get your AFRs. It's easy enough to look at it on the screen, and you say, well, it's lean, and after you get used to working with it, you can start it, depending on how lean it is, or rich, whichever way you need to go, 3, 4, 5%, see how much it gets you back where you need to go. 10, 15% would be a lot of fuel generally, but some places you may have to put 15, 20% fuel. But yeah, you just play around with these numbers, and keep in mind that the area in between these is also going to change, and that's why I point out. Matter of fact, I'm going to open a map. I'm going to open this map that I based mine off of. Yeah, I mean, there's straight zeros over here, and then 1, 4, and then we go from 1, I don't know if you can see that cell, 1 to 14, between 60 and 70% throttle. And you can see it's never linear, because your RPM is going to be increasing in your throttle. So sometimes you pin it, it's going to take a diagonal kind of course across here, and that's kind of what you're seeing, because it looks like they did dyno pulls with auto tune on this. I swear there was some negatives in this at one point, but I could be wrong. We can open some of these other maps, like this Austin Racing. I mean, they got a -3, a -14, and this is exactly where they were at 18 and 20% of fuel on the Akrapovic. I mean, they're pulling fuel out, and it's definitely, I don't think this is a good map, or that exhaust ain't as good as everybody thinks. But you see these random numbers like over here, So that's where you need to tune on the street where you're cruising and doing all the other things that you do on the bike. This is pretty much just a power tune. Your full throttle is going to be good. And I mean, that being said, I'd also like to point out that my experience with this Power Commander is it's not going to, even if you change these areas, it's not going to make a big difference because the ECU is in a closed loop. I may have that backwards. But it's in a loop where it's reading strictly off what the ECU is putting out. And when you go into throttle, it breaks that loop, and then the Power Commander can make more changes. So it's not super uber important, but just being a tuner kind of guy and riding the bike, I can see a difference. Because I don't see, the other thing I don't see on the 2020 version for the Power Commander is a accelerator fuel. Even fuel injection has an accelerator pump. I don't see that option, so if somebody knows about that, let me know in the comments or email or whatever. But bumping those related cells around the area to get your fuel where you want it is going to make the drivability a lot better, and it's going to make it pull a lot smoother, and that's what's going to also make it fast and a lot more enjoyable to ride. So that's pretty much it that I got to say about the Power Commander. I'm not a super wealth of knowledge on it, I will say that, but I know what I know, and I've been messing with it for a while. My bike ran a lot better with this on here, and I have continued to make changes. If you saw my last video, did some runs with some guys, and I learned some stuff from that, and I came back and made some changes. The bike was actually fat. It was rich in places because of that. I didn't have time to tune it, as I said in that video. I don't have a wideband right now, and I'm spending money other places, so I'm coughing up $200-300. It's going to have to wait. I'm just going to put it on a dyno, I think, and load it up and do it that way. But anyway, I did make changes. I added more, took it away from the primary injectors, put it in the secondary. That way it's a smoother transition and not just dumping fuels off the primary when it's actually only putting in 20% fuel or 30% fuel, and your secondaries are giving it that fuel. So you really need a secondary fuel module on these, and that's another reason I didn't want to go with a Rapid Bike or whatever, although that looks like a great interface, very intuitive, but it only controls the secondary injectors, so 90% of your riding is unaffected because it's only changing the top end. And honestly, this bike, the big lean spot is from 6 to, it starts about 6, it's not too bad, but just before 8,000 to about 11,000 is just nasty. It's like that from the factory. It gets a little bit exaggerated when you do put muffler and air filter on there, of course, but that's that on that. So that's it for the Power Commander 5 and the secondary fuel module on my 2020 R1. See you guys away with some views right here. Come on back, 901 Street Kings. Subscribe to the channel. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.